Welcome. Hello. It is Kajabi Fireside Chat time again. And I have joining me Vinny from Kajabi. I got to start, Vinny. What is your job? You are General Counsel at Kajabi, but I feels like you are Mr. Everything at Kajabi. So let's start by telling what is your role at Kajabi?
Yeah, so the joke that's being made right now about my role is that it's Vinny Swiss Army knife. So essentially, I get handed tough projects or things the company needs to do, and then people are like, "Can you figure out how to do them?" And I go figure out how to do them. So that's included things like when we bought Vibely, I led that purchase. I lead our legal team. I lead trust and safety. I lead Kajabi Payments Risk, so I'm like the second. Like if Steph is the main leader of Kajabi Payments, I'm like her second hand. And then I do a bunch of other random things that people ask me to do.
Okay. So did you ever imagine you would be doing something this varied in law school? Like, did you ever see this path for yourself?
No, so I always knew I was a little bit different in law school because I think a lot of people that I went to school with were very focused on like the law and they loved it. And I always thought of law as like, hey, this is a tool to get things done, or it's a tool that manages relationships, it manages how you relate to other people in the world and what other people can do. And I always thought about law as like this tool that I could learn and then use and apply all over the place in different ways. And I think that has opened me up to do a bunch of different things, as you can tell at work.
Well, I mean, it makes sense that Kajabi would have an incredibly creative, creatively minded general counsel for such a creative company that supports creators. So I think it's
Yeah,
all perfect.
yeah, it's fun.
Okay, so I've got a few questions for you today. If anyone is joining us live and would like to ask Vinny questions, you will soon see. I've had the pleasure of meeting Vinny twice at Australian sessions and again at KHL, and have had so many fascinating discussions. You'll soon discover Vinny's mind is amazing, and like you said, you are the Swiss Army knife. You have your finger in almost every part of Kajabi, and if you've got questions, he is the man. So please feel free to put questions into the chat. But one of the first things that wanted to ask you about, because we had a little chat about this at KHL, was the
Yeah.
key message that so many people took away from it was simplicity
Mhm.
and not overcomplicating things like tech stack, all of that kind of stuff. What is your thoughts around simplicity and what creators are going to be doing going forward?
Yeah. So what I've noticed is the most successful, we call them heroes, and the most successful creators on Kajabi are the ones who focus on where they can make the largest impact. And that, frankly, is their content and spending time with their audiences, right? So it's like you found some niche, you're very good at that niche, and you focus your time on just becoming better and better and better at that niche. And that shows in better and better content and better interactions with your audience. But where they get into trouble is once they start to, get that going and they start to see money flowing in, is they start to overcomplicate everything else. So they'll be like, hey, I need to hire this person to do this. I'll need to add a tool that does a very minor audience optimization for me, or I'll need to, I really need my checkout color to be this particular like gradient color that Kajabi's checkout doesn't support. And they will add tool after tool after tool, not necessarily thinking through what their customers' experience is like, but and then also not thinking through the cost to their own mind share of managing all of those tools and
That
people.
is so big.
Yeah, and then when you run out of mind share, you can't do the thing that actually moves your business, which is the content and the like interactions with your people and thinking of dreaming up new ideas and whatnot. And so we are Steph and I encounter customers all the time who are like, please help us simplify, which is really funny to us because we're like, you're super successful, you're high, you've made a lot of money, and you're coming back to Kajabi and saying, how do we simplify our tech stack? How do we do this? This is just becoming more and more prevalent. And I think it's as people realize like, hey, I'm spending too much time on things that don't actually move the needle in my business. I need to go back to that. How do I go back to that? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Like what you just said about the, these tiny little tweaks. Sure, maybe it'll make you this minuscule extra amount of money, but the amount of mind energy it takes to then manage, sometimes then you've got to have a person on your team because you may not have the skills. So then you've got to get a contractor or team member. And it just is, it's like this layering, it's like a snowball of layering effect. And then you kind of get stuck with this tech stack or system or business that it just becomes like a burden. And then you've got to keep doing more and more to support it all. And it's yeah, it's nice hearing that people are coming back saying, help us simplify.
Yeah, we had a customer who they hired an accountant, and the accountant told them to add to do a Stripe account for every jurisdiction that they offered payments in. And they did that because the accountant was like, well, it'll make my life easier, so you should do a Stripe account in these jurisdictions. So fast forward, they're processing a lot, and Stripe is like, hey, we want to offer you a discount, or they come to Kajabi Payments, but none of their stuff is aggregated. And of course, discounts are based on aggregated volume, not on separated volume, right? And so then they're like, okay, now we need to now wind up all of these Stripe accounts and sort of consolidate them down. They eventually moved to Kajabi Payments, which is how they did this, but like it was a nightmare consolidating that down. And the only reason that decision was made was because an accountant was like, hey, you should do this, but nobody really thought through why that accountant was saying that, and what there might be. Now, I'm not saying there are reasons to have multiple Stripe accounts, but just know why you're doing it. Just spend the time thinking about it. Don't do it just because someone tells you to do it, and think about if it really, really gets your business where you want to go.
Yeah, and it's a really good frame, I guess, for when you're doing anything. Like, is this going to help me connect with my audience? Is this going to help me, do the things that actually matter? Because so much of it, you can do it because you've seen someone else doing it, or like you said, someone's recommended it to you, and that becomes your reason. Where if you come back to that core, like, what is my business here to do? Like, I need to create with people and sell them things. You can do that really simply. like, all of the extra stuff is, yeah, it's just complicating it. So I love that. Um, you shared some really cool stuff in your presentation at KHL. There was a few, you were like, yeah, we're the nerds of Kajabi. And I was like, hell yeah, I want to go to the nerds of Kajabi session. That's amazing. But you and Steph shared some really cool stats and analytics. And one of the ones that I want to dive into for people that weren't there is what the most successful heroes are doing on Kajabi in terms of what their products are. So do you want to just talk us through some of that stuff, the stuff that we don't see as heroes that
Yeah,
you get to see,
yeah,
in the back end?
absolutely. So it's kind of two things that these people do, and I think it's a vestige of size too, right? Like once you get bigger, you're able, and time, right? Once you're bigger, you're able to invest in more products, and so you have more products to sell. So I'm like, this shouldn't discourage people who are just starting. Like if you're just starting, focus on one key product and absolutely nail that product. Don't worry about doing all this crazy stuff that everyone else is doing until you start to get product market fit. But the best Kajabi heroes, so I'll talk about it in two pieces. One is the types of products they're offering, and then the way that they're selling those products. So let's talk about types of products that they're offering. We put this stat up on there where we talked about the average order value that people get from their products. And so most people think, hey, I'm going to offer a course. The average order value of just offering a course is only $150. So $150 is a lot, but it's not really sort of what these larger customers are doing. They're offering a course plus a community. If you do a course plus a community, the average order value is $300. But
double.
So it's doubles, right? So just adding that community. And I know people are always like, wait a minute, manage your community is super hard. Like, are you sure I should do this? But there are reasons to do that because you can double the value of what you're selling because you're offering that course plus a community. But really the thing that increases the value of your offering is access to you. So we kind of talked about this at KHL, and I talk about this customers a lot. The reason that you can drive average order value up if you're offering access to you is because they're buying your content to begin with because of you, right? So like they like what you're teaching, they're interested in your subject, but at the end of the day, they're generally at least some competitors in your space. And the reason that they've chosen you is because of you, right? That you connect with them in some way. They like the sound of your voice. Like they see themselves in you, right? And they connect with you. And so what they want is they want access to you. So we presented this stat, which is that if you do a course plus coaching, you get to $1,000. So remember when I said
That's huge.
a course by itself, the average order value is only $150. If you do a course plus coaching, you can get that average order or value up to $1,000. So that's 10x essentially what just a regular course by itself is. And people then respond with, hey, wait a minute, coaching is very intensive. Like, are you saying I need to offer like a coaching session every day, or is it every week, or what is it? We noticed that like these large heroes aren't offering coaching sessions every day or every week. In fact, they're offering very limited access to them. So they're saying, hey, here's a course plus 6 coaching sessions, and the average order value is $1,000. And those coaching sessions are 30 minutes, and you can schedule them within a 3-month time frame. And so you've time limited and number limited that, so that way you aren't spending, and also you aren't spending like a lot of time trying to do these coaching pieces. And of course, you have to be very careful, right? Like an exclusive group of people have to have access to this, because if you have 500 people buy this, then you have those issues.
Yeah.
But the benefit is that you can really drive up that average order value. And the last one I'll mention is that if you do a course plus coaching plus a community, the average order value is $1,500. So you can kind of see where I'm going here. Right?
Yeah.
The
Like
large
10
customers,
times.
yeah, the large creators are saying, hey, we're going to give you a bundle, and that bundle is going to provide you with a lot of value. In exchange for that value, you're going to be willing to pay us a lot of value for that. And then the second thing that they're doing is they're optimizing the way that they receive funds, the way that you as a customer can pay them. And so we've noticed that these larger customers have adopted Apple Pay and Google Pay, and then they've also adopted things like subscriptions and multi-pay, right? They're using different ways to give people basically the option to buy their product. And then finally, they've also adopted things like buy now, pay laters, which we know some people are nervous about. They feel like there's like a debt situation there. They feel like there's some issues there. But the way that these larger customers are approaching, or the larger heroes are approaching it, is saying, hey, I want to be able to sell my services or my products to my customers and meet them where they are. So if your customer is like, hey, I can pay $1,500 on a credit card, great, you can pay with a credit card. Or if they're like, I want to split this into 4 payments using Afterpay, they can do that. Or if you want to split it into 12 payments using a multi-pay option, they're also offering that. And so it's just expanding the ways that a customer can pay allows you to expand your market and who's willing to sort of convert into a paid customer of yours.
Oh, and the easier that you make it for people to give you money, the higher your checkouts and things are going to convert as well. And that's been my
Yeah.
experience. I've been in the e-com space since like before this, since like 2000. And the more options and the easier you make it. And one of the things that I love about doing those buy now, pay laters is up until Kajabi Payments was offered, we only had the option of payment plans, which makes you the debt collector. And if someone doesn't pay, you've got to go after them, and it's so icky. And there's so many of us that are not the type of people who want to be chasing money because it feels awkward, whereas let Afterpay and Klarna and those guys take care of that, so it kind of detaches you from it. So even though there is a little bit of a higher cost, sanity wise, it is so worth it as a creator, because that is my most hated thing, is chasing missed payments.
Yeah, absolutely. And not only does it make it easier, you can actually get those payments, because Klarna and Afterpay pay you immediately, and then they chase.
Exactly.
It actually increases the amount of money that you're paid just on average. So we've noticed that those customers who've adopted BNPL, the amount of money paid to them is up 18%, right? So it's just
that's so
because you've
interesting.
given that option to them, 18% essentially more dollars flow to them than before they had those options available, simply because they've made them available. And then because remember, it's not just the BNPLs that increase sort of access to funds or money for you. Apple Pay and Google Pay increase conversion rates by 30%. And that makes sense because people are looking at your product online. All they have to do if they're on a computer with Apple Pay is like literally put their finger on the touch sensor and they're able to complete a purchase with you. So they love, like, it really does improve your conversion rate, and your customer is sort of excited to just buy it right then, and they're able to without having to get up and go find their credit card.
Yeah, I remember Steph shared something at sessions in Australia about the number of payments that are going through mobile. Isn't it really, really high, like compared to, do you remember that stat?
I don't remember that one in particular. I can look that one up, but I don't.
I thought
It's
it was something
high.
like
So like,
70% or something of payments with Kajabi payments are through a mobile device.
no. So it's 70% are through our web. So 30% through mobile devices. But
Ah, okay.
the so the benefit of Apple Pay and Google Pay is like, it's not that they're buying it through like an app. They're
Hmm.
buying it using the mobile browser, and because of Apple Pay and Google Pay, they just touch the touch sensor and purchase it. Versus,
Okay.
and you all know this, typing your credit card into your cell phone is annoying,
Oh,
right? And
totally agree.
so these things help you do that. And she's totally right. Like, people are looking at your products on their phone more than they're looking at them on the web, right? Like, that's just
Yeah.
especially younger generations, like, the world is shifting towards that more mobile format. So if you're able to get to them in that format, it's very easy. It's much easier to convert.
Yeah, cool. How many heroes do you know are using multi-product offers, like where you are seeing that layering of like courses plus, something else compared to just single products? Like, do you have any
So
analytics around that?
yeah, so right now it's low. It's only 16%. So,
Okay.
but if you look at that, we want to increase that percentage, obviously, because we think people will make more money, and we think it's better for everyone. It's only
Mhm.
16% across all heroes, but if you look at successful heroes, it's basically all of them. It's almost all of
Wow.
them.
Okay.
And so, like, and
Yeah.
successful means, like, in our definition, we're saying over 100K. If they're over
Mhm.
100K, they are offering multi-product offers. They are not just sticking with um, one product offers.
Okay, that is fascinating. So, like the majority of people who are doing over six figures on Kajabi are doing these multi products. So that's why you're like, we're not just saying it like we want you to be doing it because it helps you.
Yeah, it definitely helps you.
Yeah, and what you were saying before about the coaching, offering like a course plus coaching, I've personally found success with offering even just one coaching call, and it's the course plus that one like audit or that one like review, and it's so easy to bundle it together when you do that coaching, like single one session coaching, like you can just put it together in the same offer, and then that's then in their library, so it's easy for them to book it. So, it's easier than you think to be doing these things together, because I think sometimes people think, oh no, I have to have a separate offer for that thing and a separate offer for that thing, where yeah, you have the numbers, you have the stats to be like, hey, this is what's working, this is what we're seeing, because none of us see this stuff. Like, you guys are looking, going, all right, how can we help people because of what you have access to?
Yeah, and our position is like, hey, if it doesn't work for your business, it doesn't work for your business. But
Of course.
everybody should try at least one time to do a multi product offer, right? Even if it's just one coaching session, as you're saying, right? It's not super difficult to get that to get that out there, and then just see if it helps you, right? If it helps you, great, that's awesome.
Yeah, cool. Now, I've seen Eve's got a question in the chat, but for anyone else, like, I will have all the questions. I could keep Vinny here for like 3 hours asking him questions. We spend a lot of time at KHL in Australia. I'm like, what about this? What about that? Like,
Yeah,
so don't make it the Sue question show. If you've got questions, please do let us know. Um,
yeah,
I'll just ask one. We'll go to Eve's. How is Kajabi balancing the many different needs of Kajabi creators? As I think I said to you, I've got like my 80-page Google Doc with all the things
yeah,
that I wish Kajabi would do and fix.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but obviously, you have a lot of different people, and we spoke about this with Colette in communities. Like, everyone kind of has this different use case and this different thing where they're like, oh, I wish Kajabi did that, and I wish Kajabi did this. How does Kajabi balance getting the requests of heroes with the vision of the company and like doing what we want, because it
yeah.
must be a challenge.
No, absolutely. So I'll just, I'll answer this super bluntly, which is Kajabi is a business at the end of the day, right? And so we have to and we have limited resources, right? Like we have an ARR, we have EBITDA, which is our profit margin. We have all these goals that we have to make as a business and maintain. And frankly, we also have time constraints, right? Like people have families, they have lives, they don't get to work on this every minute of every day. And so we make a lot of prioritization decisions all the time. Our number one sort of reason for prioritizing something over something else is because it helps the most people. So like helps the most here. And so sometimes people feel like there's a little bit of a tyranny of the majority there, right? Like we're going to build the feature that helps the most people first before we build a feature that just helps a few people. And the other thing that sort of helps us as a guiding principle is building feature sets that we think will help people generate more money, right? So like there are features that we could build that sometimes are just, they would make the website look nicer or the editor slightly better or whatever it might be, but they might not necessarily drive more revenue to Heroes, and we generally focus on the ones that do drive revenue to Heroes. So for example, Kajabi Payments was a big example of this. People were initially like, why are so many resources being spent on this product? What's the point of this? Well, the point of it was what I was alluding to earlier, which is we wanted to give Heroes the most ways to sell their product to the most people possible and to reach Heroes where they were. And the only way, and then also manage all of that within Kajabi, right? Because we could say, hey, we've bolted on 16 payment processors. Good luck. Go get accounts with them. You get to integrate them. But we said that's a horrible experience, right? We don't want you dealing with all of that stuff. We want to bring it all into one place. And because we've done that, we now own that whole process from soup to nuts, and we're able to offer all these really cool payment methods and give you all those different abilities to sell in different places. And so I know it's tough. And sorry, the last thing I'll say is we also want to build for the future, right? Like Kajabi, we want Kajabi to be here not for 10 years or 20 years or 30 years, but for 100+ years. And so that means we also have to build to audiences that we don't even have yet, right? So like there's a little bit of building features. Like for example, we launched a link in bio product, and people were like, what are you guys doing there? And the goal there is we're experimenting with new audiences, right? We're experimenting with the next generation of creators that are predominantly mobile on social media, have link in bio, and that's how they get their audiences. And we're doing all of this because we want this platform to just be around, right? And last through different economic waves and different generations and whatnot. So all of those things to say, it is very difficult to make prioritization decisions. We're trying to do the best by our customers. We're trying to do our best by the business and make sure that like this platform is something that serves a lot of people for a very long time.
Yeah, Kajabi is the biggest creator platform for courses, isn't it?
Yeah, it's actually the biggest creator. It's the biggest creator commerce platform. So we're bigger than Patreon. We're bigger than Thinkific, Teachable, all of those folks. So it's massive. So
yeah, go Kajabi. All right. Eve has got a question about internationally, because obviously Kajabi's been really US focused in the past, and there is a lot of creators not in the US, myself included. So with people selling more internationally, like if they set up offers in key markets with local currencies versus selling in US dollars, like what are you seeing around that, and like international transactions like in general? Tell us all your thoughts about the international side of Kajabi.
Yeah, so I think like the high school version of this is, sorry, the elementary and grade school version of this is that you just offer in USD everywhere, right? And that most of our customers are doing that. And frankly, I understand, it makes sense. You're not paying foreign transaction conversion fees. You're not paying the international sort of card fees and whatnot. So it makes sense. But then once you get to like the high school heroes and the college heroes and the graduate school heroes, like the people who are really successful, they are all offering in multi-currency. And not only are they offering in multi-currency, they're also like building offers to that jurisdiction. Because some people think internationalization is as simple as saying, hey, I have this offer of this course and it's 100 USD and I'm going to now offer it in euro and in some other UK Great British Pound, and in some other currencies, and that's all I need to do. That is not correct. You actually have to think about that jurisdiction, think about how language works in that jurisdiction. If you're going to, some of our heroes will actually localize their language, so they'll offer a different course, like they'll offer an English course in Spanish, or they'll offer a Spanish course in English, or Italian, or whatever the language might be. But you also have to think about the audience in that jurisdiction and all of those things. But highly recommend, again, only focusing on this if you're at the scale where it makes sense to do this, right? If you're like pretty small and you're just getting started, focus on your niche in the market that you know the best, which is likely your home market, right? And your home language, your native language. Sell and perfect your product there, and then start offering it to the other place. And then also, naturally, just by putting your product on the internet, people will find you from other countries and buy your product anyways, even though it's in USD. And then once those people start doing that, you'll start to get data of, hey, it looks like my second largest customer base is in the EU. So I know, okay, I need to offer my next products in euros, and maybe I should consider offering it in French and German and Spanish as well, and kind of going down the direction. But don't focus on that first. Let the market kind of guide you once you have a good product in market, and once you start to see data of like, hey, all of these people from this other country are buying it, I should start to localize to that country.
Yeah. Do you think that Kajabi at some point will make that sort of multi-currency thing a little bit easier? Because right now we've got to create different offers in different currencies and then try and put them on the sales page or checkout. Like, where is Kajabi going with that kind of thing?
Yeah, so we are hopeful that at some point it's the currency that's presented to the person or the customer is the currency that is local to their jurisdiction. So that way you don't even have to do that. Yes. Now that is a like 2026, 2027 type thing, because it's very difficult to do that for us, but we are going in that direction. I think you all probably know this, but 40% of our customers are international to begin with, and about 40% of our GMV is made. So aggregate all Kajabi customers GMV, about 40% of all of that GMV is not made in the United States. So it's made in currencies other than USD. And so we know like there is a large demand for this, not just from our own heroes who are international, but also from their own customers that are international. And so we are working on doing things here for that. And then including tools for localization too, right? I was talking about language localization earlier. Like there are, and we can talk about AI at some point, but there are tools that are coming out now that will make that even simpler for you to do, or help you along the way or speed up that process of localization. And so that's kind of where we are going in the future. But again, this is not a fast or easy thing for us to do. So give us a bit of time to work on those things.
Yeah, and I can imagine from your perspective, like there's that legal side of it as well with like the actual, because that's what's, sort of one of the things that's made Kajabi payments a little slow to be. It's not like you can just turn on a switch and it's available worldwide. Like there's a lot that goes on in the background that we probably have no idea of.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, cool. All right, let's talk about AI since you mentioned the word.
I walked into
You did, you walked into it. Like with tools like AI, obviously there's a lot of concern from people around how Kajabi is keeping our data safe,
Yeah.
especially when we have tools that are literally able to essentially scrape our data. How is things like communities, like AI, like our content, like what is Kajabi doing with its AI tools to keep us protected?
Yeah. So first thing I'll say is if you are like, I don't want anything with AI at all, I don't want my content looked at all, we offer an opt-out. You just have to email legal@kajabi.com and you can opt out of any AI training. The trade-off to doing that, though, is you will not have access to our AI tools. So the key thing to mention here is that for us to actually build really good AI tools, we have to train content. So we have to, like, if we took ChatGPT or any of the open source models or just models that are available online and put them and said, hey, help this hero write an email, it would send you recommendations that make absolutely no sense, right? Because it has no context on you, has no context on your style. It also, frankly, has no context on best practices, right? Because though it hasn't been, it's just been trained on what's available on the internet, and you all know this, right? What's available on the internet can either be gold or absolute horrible stuff, right? And so it's not necessarily going to do what it needed to do. So our philosophy is that we only want to use your content to develop AI tools that help you. So what that means is we don't want to use your content to develop AI tools that we then sell to somebody else, or we don't want to take your data and sell it to other people. We would much rather keep it, protect it because it's yours, and make it yours, and ask you, right, and you can look at this in our AI terms, ask you for that license for us to train on your content to make good tools. So right now, Kajabi actually is not doing very much training at all, except for the creator.io chatbot. And in that case, you literally go into the creator.io chatbot and you actually upload or you link to the stuff you want it to train. So you're literally making an affirmative decision of, hey, I want it to train on this, I don't want it to train on this. That's how we want to approach all of the other tools we're building in the future. So for example, we've talked through, we've experimented a little bit with like an email AI tool that will help you with your emails and give you recommendations on your emails, and like where you should put the CTA, what you should say next, that kind of stuff. And in that case, we'd also want it to be like, hey, I want to use this tool. So you're opting into using the tool, and you're also kind of selecting what you want it to train on and what you want it to use that's yours. And so that's our philosophy on it. It's a very controversial topic. I wish people would take a little bit more time to kind of think about it and think about like why we would want it. And I would talk endlessly with anyone about this if you want to. And so that's kind of how we're thinking about it. So let me read this next question. Sorry. Does that mean that each creator's content is its own island, and what the AI learns from your content can only be used to help you? So in certain contexts, yes, and in certain contexts, no. So for creator.io, that is absolutely correct, right? Like we have a base model that's servicing that chatbot. If you add content to it, it only services your chatbot. There may be tools in the future where we say, hey, this will be helped to build a world model of this. And what that means is your content will be used to help build that model, and then that model will be used to help multiple people, not just you. And one context that we think about that in is like, there are best practices, frankly, to email that are shared across all heroes, right? Or that everyone would benefit from. And so like in that context, that makes sense, right? Where you're feeding it in and it's feeding you back, and you're getting the benefit of everyone else's learnings as well, not just your own. But we're going to make that super clear. Like it'll become very apparent to you whether this is an island AI product or a sort of more broad generalized AI product where your content might be used to help somebody else. But again, we want to make this a value for value exchange, right? You're giving us your content to help build a better tool, and we're giving you really good AI output. And that's frankly why we haven't launched an AI email tool yet. We tried it. We trained it with our own emails. It was terrible, and we have not put it in market, right? Because we were just like, look, this is not where we want to go just yet, because it's not good enough. So.
Yeah, and one of the things I remember you saying to me is it's not necessarily about that AI is using, say, your emails to then put that content into someone else's emails. It's doing it to learn, hey, this email was really successful and this creator made sales, and this was like the structure that they use. And like you said, it had a call to action at this point, and it used this style of subject line and that kind of thing. Is that correct understanding? Yeah. Yeah, will we be able to opt out at that point?
Yeah, that's correct. Like we're not, so I like to think about this, like if you're a instructor, yes, you will be able to opt out always. Like my position on this is like you can granular consent, so you can decide we don't actually want to train on your content to help people build content. We want to train on your content to give people recommendations for building content, right? So it's not saying like if you're a fitness instructor and you have a particular fitness routine, we're not worried about your fitness routine. We're more interested in how do you talk about that fitness routine, right? How do you communicate, and can we use that same information to help somebody else do something similar? But that's, again, opt-ins and making sure that you know that's happening, and that you're part of that decision.
So probably to Felicia's question, when you get to that point where there are these different tools, will we be able to choose which tools we opt in and out of rather than the blanket opt out of everything? That's the option right now.
Yeah, so the blanket opt out of everything option will always be there, because I think it's like, hey, if you
Yep.
just don't want to worry about this at all, great, opt out. And that's my position, is like, let me make it as easy as possible for you to opt out versus opting in.
Yep.
When it
Yep.
comes to specific tools, you can choose to opt in or out. So Creator IO is a wonderful example of this, right? Like,
Yep.
you could turn on Creator IO and not train it with anything if you want.
Yeah.
Or you could train it
Yeah.
with something, and in there you are opting in at a granular level to train it. And that's how I want all of our AI tools to operate in the future, where you're making that granular sort of opt-in choice by tool.
Yeah, and Creator IO is super granular. Like you could train it on part of your course. You don't, it's not like you have to check a button to upload everything. Like you can choose which courses and even like which modules and lessons within the course. So there may be things where you have your general stuff uploaded, but maybe not your sort of specific frameworks or like, stuff that you're protecting with your own IP.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. I would love to know your thoughts about where you see the creator economy heading in 2025 and beyond. Like, we've seen a lot of changes in this world. I mean, the whole thing is a brand new world, really. But I would love to know where you think things are heading.
Yeah. So I personally don't love making predictions,
Yeah.
but I will say I think we are at the, like, very, 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 very beginning of the creator economy. Like,
Yeah.
I don't even think we've touched the surface of this. Maybe we've seen like 1% of the creator economy so far.
Wow.
And the reason I say that is because I think, like, I really just don't think we've even touched the surface here. The reason I say that is every single person has something someone else wants to know, or every single person has something that they could help somebody else with. And like, fundamentally, that is the creator economy. That's what Kajabi empowers, right? Like, we help these people teach all sorts of incredible stuff, right? Like, there's horse dentistry. I mean, I should say equine. I think it's equine. I forget the exact specific term for it, and that hero will yell at me for not using the right term. But there's like
I won't tell her.
yeah, there's mushroom foraging. There's the specific form of like paper mache. There's like all of these incredible topics that everyone knows about, but that no one is really teaching right now. It's locked in a lot of people's heads. And then there's also topics, frankly, that are locked in institutions, right? They're locked up in tech
Yeah.
companies. They're locked up in Ivy League schools. And I think what's going to happen is people are going to realize, like, hey, I can go out there and teach anyone I want. And that means everyone gets the benefit of this incredible expertise that I've developed. So, for example, the course that I will hopefully launch one day is like a course on negotiation, because I spend all my time at Kajabi making sure that we're not paying a ton of money to vendors, or protecting Kajabi or protecting our customers or whatever it might be. And so I've developed all of these negotiation skills that I want to go make sure the world knows about. And I learned those skills because I went to a fancy law school and I paid a lot of money to do that. But that I don't personally feel like that's fair, right? I don't think that knowledge should be locked up. And so, like, on a grand scale, like on a long time period scale, like, we're just at the very beginning. In 2025, like, to get to more specific of next year, is I think next year will be the year that people realize that AI is not the, like, destroyer that it seems people think it is. Because, and I said this earlier in the meeting or the podcast, that what really matters to people is the person that they're learning from. Like, and you all know this intrinsically when you think about, like, there were teachers in your life that you could have learned any subject from, right? Literally
Yes.
anything. And the reason is because you connect with them, right? They found some way to make that material make sense to you in like in a way that made sense. And so people are like, well, AI is just going to teach us everything. It's like, yeah, it will teach us some things, right? There are things now, like, for example, I look up Google Sheet formulas in AI, and that's much faster than going and watching a video about how to manage Google Sheets. But if I'm going to go learn how to do some complex skill, like For example, right now, I am learning how to manage an org that will become mine next year. So I'm not going to say which org this is. And I'm not learning that from AI. AI could never teach me how to do that.
Yeah.
I'm going to go talk to experts. I'm going to go find the person I really connect with and say, hey, how did you do this? How did you think through this? And talk to that person. And I think people are going to realize, hey, AI is a tool that makes exceptional teachers even more exceptional because they're more efficient. They can produce more content. And as you're saying, Laura, right? It's like they can brainstorm, they can think about different ways to deliver content to you. And so AI will become this tool rather than this thing that just destroys the world that everyone seems to think is going to happen. And the other piece that I'll say is I think people will be less scared of AI. I also think people will use AI to do some incredible stuff that was not possible before. So like
True.
one of the ways I think about learning is like right now, Kajabi is the whole platform is kind of, and I'm not going to say stuck because that isn't the right word, but its foundations are in an old way of teaching and learning, which is like you watch a course video, you interact with the teacher, you're doing coursing, you're doing, you know, coaching, but you don't, it's that the interactive stuff hasn't been built out yet. And the reason, like, you know, there's no Duolingo for Kajabi yet because we would
Yeah.
have to spend a lot of money and resources, right, to build that type of interactive features. But AI can help us do that much faster and can honestly help
Mm.
you all do that much faster. So if you find, if I build an interactive way of teaching my students, you can use AI tools to build stuff that's cool there. Like that's where you'll start to see way more experimentation there. Um, and yeah, I don't know, future looks really bright to me. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah. Well, I completely agree with you. Like, about the, you are the key thing that makes it different. AI can never replace you. AI can never replace, like you said, like when you find a teacher that you just learn from, and it's like it's your vibe. It's your it's that you-ness that is never going to be able to do it. But I love that you're like, hey, let's use it to make our jobs easier so we can do more things to get more of us out there so that you have more
Mhm.
space to bring people that can connect with you. And I guess that's one of the benefits of doing those things in Kajabi where you're adding the coaching and the access to you into it, because that, like, the information is a commodity. Like, you can go on AI now, like even just straight onto ChatGPT and, be like, how do I learn this? And it will give you a really good, 99% accurate answer. But what it can't do is, it's a really shit boring answer. And if you don't learn well from reading something that an AI wrote, but you
Absolutely.
learn well from a really engaging teacher who just has a knack and a way, and it's something that you resonate with, that might completely repel someone else. Like, that's a thing as well. Like, you've got to be prepared that when you bring more you in, you're going to repel more people. But that's the beauty. Like, there could be 100,000 people that teach the same topic, but it's the
Yeah,
you that someone's going to connect with.
absolutely. And I think I talk about this all the time. Like it's okay to it's okay to attract people who are attracted to you and repel people who are not attracted to you, right? Like
Yeah.
Kajabi is a very we talk about this internally. Like we're never going to win all possible customers, right? Like I
Yeah.
know there are people who are we're just never going to win them. But as long as we're like, look, this is who we are. This is our line in the fan. And we don't take transaction fees. We want AI consent to be granular. We really, really do put our customers first. We have this crazy Kajabi hero community where we're as responsive as we can be, and it sometimes gets out
Yeah.
of hand, but like that's how we're like, look, this should stay because it's a part of our ethos. Like that will attract some people and detract some people, and that's okay because it means the people who really connect with you, what you're building, in your case, what you're teaching, that's great because those people are going to be more engaged. They're going to be more willing to give you value for the value that you're providing to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I love it. And one of the things that I love about, about you, all the Kajabi team, is how the mission that you have is so obvious, like in everything. Like the Kajabi team, like even, how willing everyone was to come and do these fireside chats with me and share. Like, that was the magic of Kajabi Hero Live. Every single person that I met, every team member that was there, of the hundreds of people that were there, everyone was as, like, committed to heroes. Like, it's like the whole company just has this, like, hey, our we exist to help you. And
Mhm.
that is so rare, with tech companies. And it is one of the things that makes up the community. And I think it's why Kajabi has so many very passionate heroes, because it's more than just software.
Yeah. Yeah, it's also, we know the trust that you put in us as a platform, right?
Mm.
You're operating your business, your livelihood is on our platform, and we take that soup. Like, people who join this company, the first thing that's ingrained into them is like, you have to obsess over these customers, because if you mess something up, like, they might not be able to, feed their family next week, because there are customers who their whole life, their livelihood, everything is on this platform, and we take that really, really seriously. And so that, like, becomes part of our blood as part of the platform, right? Like, we chase that because and we want to make sure this platform is up all the time, it's secure all the time, it performs all the time. And we don't always succeed, and we know that we can't, do everything that's asked of us, like Sue's 80-page request document. But at the end of the day, the ethos is deliver as much value. Yeah.
Yeah, it was funny because I was talking to Bill from engineering at Kajabi Hero Live, and I just thought it was so beautiful that he was so proud that his team has been working really, really hard to increase, like, how, the, or reduce, I guess, any downtime, and that they were so proud because they've got this, they've managed to make it so that Kajabi is basically never ever down. And I was like, I noticed that, like, like I love the fact that that's one of the things that you do, but also just hearing, that that is literally Kajabi's first thing that you drill into staff when they start. That's the sort of stuff that, A, makes me like even more proud to be out there as a Kajabi fan. But as someone who's using the platform, like, I'm like, yes, I want to be with a company that, treats this as seriously as I do and recognizes how important that it is. So, um, Vinny, you're making me so happy today. I love it.
Yeah, you'll also be happy to hear Bill always says his mantra is always, someone's always launching. And
Yes.
means is, like, it literally is true, because we have so many customers now, and people are so successful, like, somebody's always launching. And so, like, we always have to be at the top of our game, because literally someone is, their most meaningful event maybe in 12 months is happening at this very minute right now while I'm on this chat, right? Someone could be launching. And so that's the type of, like, standard that we have to uphold.
Yeah, which is fantastic. I love it. Well, I mean, this is some of the reasons why Kajabi is the biggest player in the industry in this market. So, yeah, it's fantastic. Ah, Vinny, I could talk to you forever. Um, but alas, our fireside chat does have to come to an end. Before we go though, I got one question for you. What was your highlight
Yeah.
of coming to Australia for Kajabi sessions
Oh yeah.
in Australia?
Can I just say it was meeting you in person?
Ah, right answer.
uh, Honestly, the highlight was, we, um, in my position, and anybody on senior leadership will probably say this to you, or to everyone, is we're usually making the hardest decisions. So you're making decisions where the weights are 51-49, right? Or you're making a decision because a customer has a serious problem and you have to figure out how to solve that problem. And usually that customer is pretty angry. And so we don't always get to see the fruits of those efforts, right? So
Mm.
we don't get to talk to people, or we don't get the, like, fun feedback of, hey, I just launched and I made 100K and I'm, like, really excited, I'm gonna go out to dinner with my family. We get the, hey, I just launched and 15 transactions failed, what's going on, why is this happening, how can you fix this immediately? And obviously we're concerned about that, and want to fix it. But the best part about coming to sessions, or even Kajabi Hero Live, is just interacting with customers who are frankly just so happy to be there, and also, like, can tell you, like, I will ask the question, like, what has Kajabi done for you? And they're like, oh, you paid for my kid's college education, or I literally retired my husband, and I was able to do that because of Kajabi, or you changed my life. And that's the coolest part of all of these events, is talking to customers, hearing their stories, and then getting inspired to come back the next day and do whatever it is I have to deal with the next day.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it makes all of that stuff so worth it when you get that personal connection, because you see how much it means. Like, it really does mean a lot. Like, and sometimes it's the smallest things. Like, I could take my kids on a holiday, like, that I would have been
Yeah.
able to do. Like, like, it's yeah, I paid off my debt is something that I've, had a lot of people, like, that's been their mission, or they're able to go part-time in their job, or even like let their job go and like be a full-time creator. Like there's so many magic milestones, and it's really it's heartwarming to, and I don't mean that in a cheesy way, but it's nice to know that like that's kind of something that, like drives you and makes you happy about the job that you're doing. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, yeah, 100%.
Cool. All right. Um, we've got to wrap up, but if you are watching this on the replay and you got questions for Vinny, please do let us know. Send a message in the community, because I'm pretty sure Vinny would be happy to answer any questions. Maybe one day I can twist your arm and we'll do an AI session, and get everyone together and just talk AI, because that is absolutely fascinating. And I mean, the world of it is changing so fast. So maybe we can do that in the future. We'll plan that at some point if
Yeah.
you're willing. But if you do
I
have any other questions, let us know, and I can forward them on to Vinny.
Yeah, absolutely happy to answer anyone's questions. And yeah, looking forward to talking to more people whenever I get the chance.
Yay! Awesome, awesome. All right. Well, have a beautiful weekend. We're going to be back on Monday talking to Kylie about Kajabi's new invoicing feature. Another way that Kajabi's making it easier to take payments, and that extra tool in your business, which is really awesome. So that will be on Monday, 3 p.m. So I'll see you then, and have a beautiful weekend. Thanks again, Vinny. You're the best. Love having you here, and I'll see you very soon. Bye bye.
Talk to you later.